Good afternoon, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Kiko's Freethinkers Forum. This is episode 79, and we're joined by a very special guest. Her name is Christina Tobin, and she is the president and founder of Free and Equal Elections Foundation. And her career starts back really in 1998 when she served as a ballot access coordinator for the Ralph Nader run in the 2000 run, the controversial the spoiler, label that they threw on Ralph Nader. But Christina Tobin was behind the ballot access initiatives behind that campaign. And again, as I mentioned, the 501c3 nonprofit organization, Free Equal Elections. You guys need to check out the information on the website. I'm going to link all of the information in the description at the end of episode 79. But I just wanted to say welcome to the show, Christina. And I can't wait to ask you some questions about your organization, how you got into politics, and just some of the debates that may be coming up this year.
Thank you so much for introducing me. And I've been in the arena since 1998, helped to get my dad on the ballot in 2002, lieutenant governor when I saw him wrongfully knocked off the ballot as a governor in 98, and then worked for Ralph Nader statewide in 2004. Did a lot of ballot drives within Chicago, probably dozens of candidates having a success rate getting them on the ballot. And then was hired as a national ballot access coordinator for Ralph Nader Independent in 2008, successfully getting on the ballot in 45 states plus DC. So that was really the root of my foundation with electoral work. And by the way, Ralph Nader is not a spoiler. The only spoilers are the people in office, the two parties, the Democrats and Republicans, that implement what's called the singular vote, which actually supports and promotes the spoiler effect. It's the worst voting method we could possibly have. And when we get accountable people elected into Congress, we're not going to have these scare tactics anymore, like the spoiler effect to keep people from voting for their heart and the conscience. And we're going to get rid of the worst voting method you could ever imagine, singular vote, which is, we have it because it keeps getting these D's and R's reelected over and over again. So working for Ralph Nader was an honor in 2008, and that sparked the creation of my nonprofit, Free and Equal Elections, when we hosted the first nationally televised presidential debate outside of the mainstream commission on presidential debates back in 2008.
Yes, like I was saying off camera, I followed you for a while, not really understanding the gravity of just our electoral problems and the need for electoral reform. I am, and the people who follow the forum understand that we're not necessarily apathetic towards politics, but we think that there are also things that we can do outside of electoral politics to sort of enrich the process. I think they kind of go together. You can't have one without the direct action. You have to have the electoral politics as well. But the way electoral politics is set up now, I think gives people a lack of hope in the future. But I want to ask you, since you're with me, what are the three main areas, in your opinion, that we need to attack as far as electoral reforms are concerned for people to get more confidence in the voting system itself?
Well, Ralph Nader taught me in 2008. He put on the Open the Presidential Debates rally. And I ended up going to the DNC. It was the only person next to him for a good hour because everybody else forgot their passes and I didn't. So I was with Ralph on my own. And he looked and said, I could interview with every member of the DNC and I would only reach 2 to 3% of the population of what the Commission on Presidential Debates reaches. So it became very clear to me that there needed to be an entity that one day would become the mainstream presidential debates that would allow and invite candidates beyond the two-party system. And I bring this up because it is one of, if not the most powerful tools that the two-party system has to create this false illusion, grand illusion, myth that there's only two political parties, when in fact there's many third parties and many independents as well. Through our presidential debate series we'll be kicking off. We just locked in XR Studios February 29th in Los Angeles, 360 immersive. We're going to be discussing about different electoral flaws. So when you mention things that we need to reform, it's so many more than three, but at my near and dear heart, ballot access. The fact that it takes 938,000 signatures for an independent like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to get on the ballot. He would have to collect upwards of 1.4 million. That drive will cost easily at this point 15 to 20 million to get on the ballot. And that is extremely unconstitutional. When we get the right people elected into Congress, then then elect the right judicial system, judicial members, then we're going to see ballot access equal for everyone across the board. And maybe even instead of archaic petitions, having where people can vote or sign petitions via online through their phones and so on through the blockchain. The voting machines are so corrupt, follow the money. Gerrymandering is rigged, flawed. I like to say, I shouldn't say rigged, it's flawed. We can all be, there's so much beyond hope and faith and changes on the horizon. Don't be pulled down by this psychological indoctrination that nothing can be changed, because there's just a couple hundred people in office that are easy to change and to replace. And they're all 70, 80 years of age. They're expiring, truly. And there's going to be a new paradigm rising bigger than what the current government has a stranglehold of. So to proportional representation, why don't we have that? To electoral college, to we talked about voting, alternative voting methods, singular vote being the worst. Well, we should have ranked choice voting or score voting or star voting. And there's many other flaws to the electoral system. Beyond that, we can go into media and Hollywood and so on. And the money that controls these people in office beyond pharmaceutical, military, industrial complex, and so on. So here at Free and Equal Elections, we're here to address these topics and many more strategically throughout our presidential debate series in 2024.
Yes, there's a lot also that Free and Equal Elections does that's not necessarily in the reform realm. For instance, I saw where your organization sponsored the End the Damn War rally a few years ago, and also sponsored the Rage Against the War Machine event in DC. What goes into those decisions to sponsor certain types of events? Is it strictly anti-war, or is it just like a plethora of different issues?
It's really when I see a topic that is fully funded. We can look at, again, when it comes to war, the military industrial complex and the power and the stranglehold, the control, the strings that these big money entities have in donating to both Democrats and Republicans alike. I'm not going to be for that. I am going to be uniting for peace. Would I personally create an organization that uses the word rage against the war machine? No. But we have created what's called United We Stand Festival. So Free and Equal Elections has been hosting presidential debates for 15 years. Broadcast legend Larry King and I united in 2012, co-moderating Free and Equal's presidential debate, Chicago Hilton, reaching tens of millions, top 10 trending on Twitter. And in 2014, I heard our former Congressman, Dr. Ron Paul, said, if we're ever going to bring about revolutionary changes, he said two things would need to be involved: the youth and music. And that sparked the creation of United We Stand. So Free and Equal Elections, my nonprofit, hosts the presidential debates for 15 years. And in 2014, Free and Equal Elections began hosting United We Stand, now 7 or 8 years annually in a row. We've had United We Stand, which is uniting conscious art leaders, conscious artists, art leaders, that's two, art leaders, artists, thought leaders, coalitions, organizations, people that want to do good in the world beyond, sure, monetary donations and or being on stage, like Chuck D, a Public Enemy, has supported Free and Equal Elections. Like his vote of confidence endorsement, there's no amount of money that could buy Chuck D's endorsement, because he's like not one to be bought. So United We Stand last year, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was our keynote speaker. We've had Kamani Marley on our stage, the founding members of Wu-Tang Clan, to Immortal Technique. We've been endorsed by Michael Franti, Mike Love, just a lot of different hip hop, reggae genres of music across the spectrum. It's really going to be music. Music is the healer that's going to unite our country. So yes, we work with groups like Rage Against the War Machine and many others. The common denominator, no one controls these groups. These are people that represent the masses of what people want. Rage Against the War Machine, sure, I want us to unite for peace. And that's the reason why Free and Equal Elections was a part of Rage Against the War Machine. And I've been asked to be a speaker there. I'm honored this February for the second annual Rage Against the War Machine rally this February, I remember 17th or 18th at Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C.
And that's awesome. I'll definitely be following that event very closely. Shout out to News 2 Share, Fort Fisher. They air a lot of the events going around the world, not just domestically, but also internationally. And Kiko's Freethinkers Forum definitely stands in solidarity with any of the anti-war efforts. And a lot of what you do in your organization, there's a lot of overlap, and there's some common people that I think we know, and it's kind of cool that we're here today, like I was saying before. I had to mention Spike Cohen because he's been on my platform a couple of times. He's coming on again on Wednesday. And he was kind of surprised when I told him about did you know about the 2020 presidential debate, which your organization is held again, you hosted everything, and he was completely unaware that there was a 2020 presidential debate with independent and third party candidates. And I was surprised because I believe that there was like Howie Hawkins, there were like other people there participating in it.
Correct.
Um, and I've noticed you mentioned Chuck D from Public Enemy, Professor Griff I've seen with graphics on free and equal elections, and you mentioned RFK Jr. Is there a visibility issue that you're having to combat? Because I'm surprised that more people don't know about your organization. Like I've followed it for a while, but it seems like there's something going on. I don't know if it's a media space thing or not, but even someone like Spike Cohen, who was the vice presidential nominee for the Libertarian Party, wasn't even aware of the debate. And that was kind of surprising. But he said that could have been because Joe Jorgensen's team like rejected I guess the invite. What exactly? Can you explain that or clarify that?
I mean, you answered it there. You're dealing with a lot of different personality types, and there's a lot of different agendas. And we had 3 live presidential debates in 2020. And the first one, so many people said yes. The first time I did a debate before the primary, we had 18 candidates and many more that still want to be in the debate. So I just split up into 2 debates, 9 and 9. And Jo Jorgensen, to be frank, she didn't like sitting next to or near Vermin Supreme and other candidates. And sometimes you just have personalities and preferences. And then also candidates often think they become too big to be next to other candidates. So Jo Jorgensen wanted to have a debate. You may recall she tried to do a debate with just Trump, which is
Mm-hmm.
just not the logic and the rationale is not there. And he was a no-show, and she was welcome to be at our debate and chose not to. I've had this happen in 2012 where Jill Stein and Gary Johnson were at our debate. And then 2016, they got the most exposure that entire campaign through that debate. But in 2016, sometimes they just forget or they think they're too big and they don't want to be next to lesser known candidates. And then they forget, well, that's why the Democrats and Republicans are excluding you from the Commission on Presidential Debates, that you're not being any different from them if you only want to debate each other, which Gary Johnson and Jill Stein just debated each other and didn't participate in Free and Equal Elections 2016 debate, which I co-moderated with with Lou Grant of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, Ed Asner.
Mm-hmm.
So, you hit those sort of dynamics of different personality traits, and ultimately it's up to the candidate how they want to run their candidacy. I'm glad, Jill Stein's running again, Green Party. I have amicable relations with her. What we're building here at Free and Equal Elections is an independent movement. It's really, I see all the candidates beyond party lines, whether they're running Democrat, Republican, third party, independent. And this February 29th, we're going to be hosting our first kickoff for a series of the presidential debates at XR Studios. And the people are going to vote in beginning January 15th. They will have from the 15th to the 26th to vote in the top 6 candidates they want to have in our live debate. So there's over 150, maybe 200 people running for president now. And it'll be ranked choice voting, and the top 6 candidates on a blockchain app, as it will evolve into, will be in our first round of debates. So it could be a couple Democrats, a couple Republicans, all third parties, a couple independents. Let the people decide. So we've hit definitely some challenges with United We Stand. We've had a lot of hostility from universities, from UCLA. I sued them. Free and Equal sued them, and we won several years ago for breach of contracts. So they wrongfully canceled our first annual United We Stand festival, and we were never able to fully come back from that yet. It's been 8 years. Like the momentum of that first year, that university system almost took out Free and Equal Elections. So hostile. And fortunately, we won that lawsuit. The arbitrator ruled that UCLA, in fact, breached the contract. And Chuck D was on our stage a year later when we held the second annual United We Stand, saying, UCLA, we know what you did. Go to Christina Tobin for the truth. They didn't want This is kind of a racist move, honestly, when I read all the Intel admin emails between the administration and not wanting Chuck D and Public Enemy there. Shame on UCLA. So we've been up against a very flawed system, not only an electoral side, but universities have a lot of room for improvement. And they don't want a truly independent movement because they're also beholden to the powers that be. So we're here to break that and shine through and build a beautiful paradigm of truth, transparency, and accountability once and for all within the United States government, which is going to be a huge shift from the federal, state to local level through the technology and blockchain ledger, but also worldwide. But we're going to start with America first.
That's so much that you said there, Christina, because I read that message resonates with me personally because being someone that's technically a part of academia, a PhD, but I'm sort of a rebel PhD because um, that kind of made me not want to go into academia further, just knowing the political climate. You can kind of tell by your colleagues that give you these signals, and if you don't really line up your views with the academy or the orthodoxy, you can tell. They don't have to tell you anything, but you can feel it big time. And it's not just the Democrat Republican being outside of that paradigm, but it's more so a mindset. And these universities aren't as free thinking as they portray themselves to be at all. And I'm really surprised to hear that universities aren't allowing an organization like yourself to go speak about these systemic issues that we face if voting is so sacred and it's always, you know, in our face. But it seems like if it's I guess there's a line that goes into like the mainstream artists, the mainstream media. You mentioned Chuck D from Public Enemy. I would have never known that if you wouldn't have told me that he has something to do with the involvement with free and equal elections, just promoting third party candidates. Because everything that is told to us is these people only support one side of the ruling class or the other. Whether it's the NBA, they have their rock the vote drives and everything. And that seems to drown out like organizations like yourself. Is there like an organization that's even comparable to yours that does what you do? Because I'm thinking there should be way more. That I know that there's some people who do ballot access, but that's all they do is ballot access. They don't do like you're doing with the debates, opening the debates to people outside of the DNR system. Is there another organization that does that to your knowledge?
If there was, I would not continue doing this. It is such a challenging role to take on, and I'm built for it, and primarily because of my upbringing around my father and that environment, and that I'm grateful for. My mind is, I don't speak too much to it, but my mind is wired very differently. I have an ability to organize and do so many different things simultaneously. At this point, having been in it 25 years, I do it with a lot of ease, and I'm not attached to a timeline anymore. And for anybody that's achieving any goals in life, whatever it is, one bit of advice I would give is to not be attached to a timeline. Do the best that you can in the moment and continue and be consistent. And that's what I have been with free and equal elections. Even at times when it wasn't bringing in enough revenue for me to be comfortable, I would pick up part-time work elsewhere. I started my own little gym shop in Cambria, California about 4 years ago to have a stable income. So I'm always in a great place, no matter how a nonprofit, as you can imagine, fluctuates. I've turned down countless offers of unbelievable amounts of money and buying out this movement and or taking over, and it's not for sale. So if somebody else was doing it, I would have stopped. It's really not a easy thing to build, but I knew there would come a time consciously in our country that we would need a platform like free and equal elections more than ever, that we can unite different viewpoints from across the spectrum and truly have a long-term solution-based direction where we're going. So as we build out the debate, I urge people to go to freeandequal.org. You can sign up for our voting app to vote January 15th, which will evolve into the blockchain app Ledger. Nexus.io is building that blockchain app. Colin Cantrell is just this masterful genius. His father created and built SpaceX with Elon Musk. So, I mean,
Oh,
we're in
wow.
great hands on the coding, developing blockchain. train voting app in, and that app's going to eventually list every single candidate running for office. These are third parties, independent candidates. And so there's truly an independent movement brewing here. And I've been at it 25 years and I'm ready to go another 30 or 40, who knows? So time is hopefully still a bit on my side more than not. And I can see a lot of the youth, the 18 to 28-year-olds, arguably the 14 to 28-year-olds are now really latching on to this movement. And I see a lot of them running for office, getting involved, donating time beyond money. Money's always going to influence elections. There's no like making money go away. Let's be realistic here, but we sure can expose it. Like, is this good money? Okay, great. This great entity is supporting this candidate. Like, great. I hope they win. Let me endorse Chuck D or Mortal Technique or a Marley or an organization or leaders. And we're here to bring all of those people together to essentially bring about transparency within our government once and for all.
That is amazing that you have those people on your side that you mentioned. That's incredible. I didn't know about Immortal Technique. I did not know that. I follow a lot of his stuff.
And he actually is the very reason United We Stand continued to happen in 14, because you can imagine when a venue like UCLA wrongfully, they breached the contract 5 days out and canceled. We miraculously booked an alternative venue the day of at noon at Belasco Theater. And Immortal was the one headliner. We've lost over half of our artists and speakers, including Public Enemy, and so on. Though Chuck D made up for it showing up on our stage a year later, but it just wasn't quite the same. But he did his diligence and did what's right. But Immortal's like, we're going to do this out in the park. The system's not going to shut us down. Like, he was a huge anchor because United We Stand, when that cancellation happened, of course, it directly impacted our presidential debates as well and our support and funding, because UCLA implemented this false cloud of doubt over me, saying that I failed to make payment on time, when they actually went out of their way to sabotage a truly independent idea for the people. So shame on UCLA, and all of that will go public in the future in a book and so on, because I did not sign a confidentiality agreement. Within that settlement, they offered me big money. And I said, no, I said, I'll take the big money if UCLA, we can also host United We Stand again at Poly Pavilion. They wouldn't do it. I said, well, then we're not going to settle privately. And I got the win and didn't have to sign the confidentiality. So I could put it all in a book one day, and I will, so they can see, the people can see the corruption and the need for improvement within the university system.
Dragged him, Christina.
Yeah, Chuck, you can see all the emails there. Like, yeah, they did not want, well, you know, if you didn't want Public Enemy to be there, you shouldn't have like signed a contract with free and equal elections. When I told you right off the bat, Public Enemy was our headliner, and they took my money, but then they have a problem with it later because there was a buzz on campus and thousands of students were going to show up and Chuck D was coming on campus, and now UCLA, you have a problem with it. Yeah, no, that's bad business. Bad people there.
I just had one final thing to clear up. So can we download that app that you mentioned now, the blockchain election assistant app? Can you download that right now?
Not yet. The first round is going to be through text message confirmation for the February 29th debate. And then we've built out 2 more debates into next year. We will go into app phase because it takes months to do the testing and trials for the app. So we are branding it right away as blockchain voting app, because once we go into the app phase in June, like, we're permanently an app, and then you'll be able to download it then sometime in the fall, spring, that is, or so.
Well, Miss Christina Tobin, this was an absolutely wonderful episode 79. And I have to tell you, I didn't tell you this, we're actually hosting a presidential forum this Friday. It's going to air at 7:45 Eastern on Kiko's Freethinkers Forum YouTube channel. And a lot of the inspiration is from free and equal elections. I think more YouTube and independent channels should give visibility to candidates. I mean, it's not that hard of a thing to do. What you're doing is completely different. It's a way broader, but just for like smaller YouTubers, the best that people can do if you really want to see these candidates and give them more visibility, do your part in that, enhance their visibility. We got 5 beautiful candidates coming up on Friday, and I've had the honor to have 2 interviews with each one of them. And I'm hoping to have different candidates later down the road, just so people, because I've only interviewed people outside of the D and the R alliance. We don't mess with people that are D's and R's on Kiko's Freethinkers Forum. So it's just kind of like one of our ideological angles, but we totally appreciate everything that your organization does, because it's a one of a kind movement, and I think it's only going to grow from here. But I just wanted to say, is there what's the quickest way for someone to contact you in case they had a question or comment? Because my audience is pretty interactive, and they have a lot of questions usually.
Yeah, definitely. Just go to freeandequal.org and there's a contact page there. And we are in the process of raising funds for our presidential debate February 29th. We've hit our goal of 30,000, which is exciting. We have increased, we have, how do I say, we have moved to a extraordinary venue now, XR Studios, which is 360 immersive. So we're raising our fundraising goal to 100,000 this coming week. So we're ramping it up and going into like the mainstream stage, like where Taylor Swift and will.i.am recently shot at. I mean, it's the state of the art, a venue that I could have only dreamed of that's fallen into our lap, XR Studios. And their stage manager is our producer for the event. And we have more team members and creative and so on. So to support freeandequal.org, you can find us there and reach out, or on social media too. And of course, sign up for that vote. Let those candidates know Friday. It's people like you that let Spike Cohen know about this debate. I mean, it's the word of mouth, and it's truly, truly built from the ground up. So I've always felt and known in my my mind, heart, my gut that when you're building an independent movement, it's something that just kind of, it happens overnight. And I foresee that happening. I'm not sure when, again, not attached to a timeline, but it's almost happened twice. Actually, in 2008, when we kicked off our debates, we were going, we had every media, it's a whole nother story, a media outlet could ever confirm, have confirmed. All of them couldn't like keep the phones, like they were off the chain. I had one problem. I couldn't get any candidates to confirm. It was the craziest thing, you know? So it happened much smaller scale. The same pattern happened with 2014 United We Stand. So that's very telling to me. That tells me, putting together the common sense, the logic, the connections that we have, that this is something that's going to hit the masses overnight. I can feel it. It almost did twice. So and so thank you so much for your support and everything you do, and doing a candidates forum. That's an honor for us to have been an inspiration for that. And while I recognize you work not with D's and R's, the only Democrats and Republicans that are attracted to our platform are the ones that are not controlled by big money. So, I mean, I see them again as individuals as well as third parties. And honestly, as third parties and all parties become larger, I've seen them inevitably become infiltrated. So I stick with the ideas. I like to bring the ideas and conversations together, and through conversation, like John Lennon said, there's no problems, only solutions. Through conversations, that's how solutions rise. And there's so much more that we can agree on than not. So thank you for your support and your kind words. And I feel like I could share a lot more in this interview than most, because you've done so much research. So you really got me like to open up today a lot.
That's good. That's the point.
Time. So
The
because you
people
can
know what's
handle
up
it.
with
I'm pretty
Kiko.
sure your viewers can too, but usually I go a little slower on different, but here it's like you're right on, you're spot on. So thanks for doing your homework and for your support, and feelings mutual for what you've
Well,
done.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to us here at Kiko's Freethinkers Forum. Beautiful people. We have 2 interviews coming up on Wednesday before the exclusive presidential forum. The first one hosted by us. We have Margaret Kimberly from Black Agenda Report. She's coming on Wednesday morning, followed by Spike Cohen in the afternoon. And so he's going to make his 3rd appearance. And Margaret's also making her 3rd appearance. We have over 25 interviews scheduled between now and the end of January. So it's going to be quite busy here. And again, please follow Free and Equal Elections Foundation. We're going to link all your episode information there so the public can click on you. I have a lot of audience members that would definitely be interested, and maybe they can help down the road with volunteering and stuff. I don't know, but there's just a little bit of everything on that Free and Equal Television, Free Incorporated. We didn't talk about some other stuff, but maybe down the road we can. But I appreciate your time today, and we can't wait to have you back on possibly down the road.
Thank you. Already look forward to it. And thanks for everything you do. So
Thank you.
appreciate you. Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.